Good day, Mzansi. According to the Commission's evidence leaders, financial records and digital communications allegedly point to a network of payments and dealings that investigators say may be linked to corruption and the manipulation of police procurement processes. The Commission also heard allegations that Khan maintained close contact with businessman Ismail Valley regarding SAPS tenders. Evidence leaders presented WhatsApp messages, which they allege show discussions about tender specifications and procurement matters.
Commission, this is on oath by our investigator, Mr. Nyatlo, that ZIG Revenue Management, which is a business owned by Mr. Z. Ngumalo, also a name that has cropped up in this commission several times, a businessman, paid Mr. Sayed's paid this company, Onyx Aviation. Mr. Sayed is not a director of Onyx Aviation, but he's associated with it. He's associated with people who are directors of Onyx Aviation. Mr. Ngumalo paid Onyx Aviation to fly Ms. Mashazi, her husband, and her friends to London for a weekend in July 2022. And the charter flight itself was 3.3 million. Commissioners, what I want to say about this, I think there's several points to be made about this body of evidence. The first is that this isn't an ordinary private ship. This is of interest to the Commission for obvious reasons. These individuals have been, well, at least Ms. Mashazi has appeared before the Commission, Mr. Ngumalo's name has come up, and we haven't had this evidence placed before the Commission before. And it's clear that this is no ordinary private trip. While there may be no question that Mr. Ngumalo paid for this trip, there has been some question about whether it was ultimately funded by somebody else, but we don't know that yet. What we do know is that it was in the amount of 3.35 million, and that it was for a private flight for Ms. Mashazi, who was then the city manager in Ekurhuleni at this point in time. It was for her husband, and her two friends. And so we say that on its face of it, the conferral of a benefit to the tune of 3.3 million is extravagant, and it raises obvious concerns for us of a conflict of interest and of possible corruption, gratification, and abuse of public office. That's the first point I wish to make in relation to this evidence. The second is that it raises the question of disclosure. And if this trip was declared by Ms. Mashazi, we believe it wasn't, but if this trip was declared by Ms. Mashazi to the city or the council, or an ethics or compliance structure within the city, then that record should exist. If it was not declared, then the failure to disclose a trip like this, as I said, it's not an ordinary trip. This is not just, an economy flight with your family to a low-budget hotel in London. Then the failure to disclose itself would be a matter of grave concern, because it would mean that a senior municipal officer accepted or was associated with a private benefit of an extraordinary value without any transparency to the public institution that she served in. So that's the second point in submission I'd like to make of concern that emerges from this evidence. The third is that the Commission would want to consider who benefited from this trip beyond Ms. Mashazi and her husband and her friends, because a payment of 3.3 million for a weekend flight is so far outside of ordinary hospitality or gift, that it invites the inference that the person who paid for it expected something in return. And the question would be, if this was a gift or gratification, what influence or protection or access was expected from Ms. Mashazi in return, in her capacity as a city manager of Ekurhuleni. The fourth submission I would make on this is that General Khan is provided with this information, and that his receipt of this itself is significant. And the question would be, what interest did he have in this information? On the face of it, it's not apparent what interest he has in receiving this information. And the fifth and final point I want to make is that the question would be not just what interest General Khan had in it, but what did he do with the information? Did he refer it to the city or to the Hawks or to the NPA? One would have expected, normally one would expect that that would be the normal course, that it would be referred to the relevant authority or something would be done with it. It would seem not, because Ms. Mashazi held her position as a city manager until last year, and this trip took place in 2022. So, she remained in a position until she retired last year. So, on the face of it, it seems that nothing was done with it, or else she would not have remained in her position.
And when did General Khan become aware of this? Because you seem to be implying that it was in 2022 when he became aware.
I'll tell you, just want to confirm the date that I was looking at. It was in October 2022, Commissioner.
Is it those chats that we don't have?
Well, no, it's on page 6676.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
All of this information was forwarded to General Khan, including the passport pictures, which are blurred out.
It seems to me that perhaps a further question, you've listed questions, it seems to me that a further question to ask, and whether you get an answer to it is another matter altogether, is considering this is 2 days or 3 nights visit for that amount of money paid for by somebody else, at least on what is before us now. What was the purpose of the trip? And that kind of question, so I would add it in the list of what was the purpose of the trip, and maybe or not, it leads or explains an interest. What was General Khan's interest in this, but not just General Khan. Why was Mr. Syed interested in this trip? Questions that I am not suggesting we'll get answers to, but it seems valid questions to ask.
Absolutely, Commissioner Baloy. I mean, a number of questions arise, including how Mr. Syed obtained this information. We know of his relationship with Onyx Aviation, etc., and so it's not so surprising that he had the information on the immigration forms and the executive license, but the passports, I suppose it would have been all part of that bundle. But we don't know the background to it. And I'm in agreement with you, Commissioner Baloy, that would be another question. So those are my submissions on this Mashazi chapter.
A different question on that. How do you connect the invoice to this trip as per immigration documents? I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So you've got the passports, and you've got the immigration clearance documents, and then you've got the invoice, and you say that this invoice was payment for this trip. Where do we see that connection?
It's in the description. So the charter. It's not in the executive document, unfortunately, but it will be in one of the other documents, the aircraft ZSFCI. Oh, it is in the operator aircraft. Sorry, Commissioner Baloy, on page 27. It is there. Paragraph 2, operator aircraft, operating aircraft registration ZSFCI. And on the invoice, you see under charter fee, it's for the aircraft ZSFCI. And then you see the dates, and then you see the destination and the route.
I hadn't understood. Thank you for clarifying. So page 27 relates to this particular trip. It's not just a general license for this aircraft, but it relates to this trip in particular.
It does,
Yes.
Commissioner Baloy. You'll see above
Yes.
the dates.
I see that. Yes. Thank you.